Yeah! Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, and in this video, as you can tell, we're going to be taking a look at these 5 gorgeously ugly retro Dell Dimensions. So, yeah, let's just get started with this video and see what's all going on here, because I honestly did not realize I had this many of these somewhat iconic pieces of OEM goodness. So, let's just get started. Okay, so before this video fully begins, I do want to mention that no, this is not a full-blown restoration video in which all these are going to be restored in this video. In fact, realistically, they're not all going to be restored anyway in their own separate videos or in a video series. I mean, that's a lot of me milking Dell Dimensions here. No, instead, this video is going to be more along the lines of a PC archaeology of sorts, where we're going to crack each of these open, take a good look at the exterior, the interior, see what's all there, see what's damaged, see what's missing, because as you can tell, this middle one here is missing some parts. And then if everything looks good, to quote David over at Usagi Electric here, we're going to throw some electrons at these things and see what works and what doesn't work. And then from there, we'll get a game plan going of what's going to be restored and what's going to be regulated for just parts. Anyway, let's get a quick overview of these things, then we'll crack them open and go from there. All right, so if you're of a certain age range, like myself being a millennial, you may recognize, if not begrudgingly, this design aesthetic that Dell used during the early to mid 2000s. Whether it was the Dimension line or the Optiplex line, the full tower, mid tower, or even a small form factor tower, this design was the predominant design aesthetic for the early 2000s from Dell. It was everywhere. Schools bought them in bulk. In fact, a personal thing here, I remember our high school and middle school had these everywhere in the computer labs of various different model types. And even they were in the teachers' personal computers and the office computers. But they also were in a lot of small businesses, and they also ended up in a lot of homes, since a lot of school districts each year would sell off their old inventory to fund the purchase of new computers. So these ended up in a lot of homes as well. So if you don't recognize it in school, you probably recognize these from your parents buying one from the district when they were selling them. Hence why I ended up with 5 of these somehow that I didn't realize I had until I was doing some cleanup work out in the garage and down the computer room. Such an ugly yet retro design aesthetic. It's iconic. I mean, this design basically was the early era of Windows XP when it came to Dell OEMs. So first off, at the very far right, we have a Dell Dimensions 3000 sporting a Celeron D badge and a Windows XP sticker. Also, for those of you of a certain time range, may remember the disaster that was the Celeron D and how they were not that great of CPUs, and they were actually not well liked back in the day. So this one should be pretty interesting if it works, especially to compare it to the other ones here in the lineup that are the full-blown Pentium 4s. Next to that, we have another Dell Dimensions 3000. This one's sporting a Pentium 4 badge. This one, though, is very interesting because this is the only one I've ever come across that is a complete bare-bones basic model that doesn't even have a floppy drive. In fact, it has the block-off plate. This is the only Dell Optiplex or Dimension that I've ever seen with the block-off plate for that. So, if anything, this one's actually a little more interesting. Next to that in the middle is another Dell Dimensions 3000. This one is the most destroyed and disgusting of the entire lineup, as you'll see from the close-up footage and the individual shots here in a second. But this one is a little bit different. It's got the Pentium 4 HT badge, which indicates this is a hyper-threaded model of the Pentium 4. Now again, people of a certain age range and of certain computer proclivities may remember that the hyper-threading thing back during this time was not a good thing. Intel pushed it a lot, saying that it was going to be a lot better than just a single-core processor because it had 2 threads. But for those of you who remember, the hyper-threading thing back during this time was a hindrance in a lot of cases, with a lot of games and software having a performance hit because they weren't quite optimized to handle what a hyper-threaded or multi-threaded CPU was. They were either expecting full-blown dual CPUs, since there was no dual-core CPUs yet, or they were just expecting, obviously, a single core processor with just a single thread. So it would be interesting, again, also to compare the performance of a hyper-threaded model versus a non-hyper-threaded model. But I have my doubts this one's going to work. And the next up in the lineup is a Dell Dimension, not a 3000, because it would be just weird if I had 4 Dell Dimensions 3000s, right? I mean, 3 is pushing it. Nope, this is a Dell Dimensions 4600, a little bit more powerful model of the Dimension line, which should have an AGP graphics slot if any of my research is correct on that. But also this one has just a generic Pentium 4 sticker, not hyper-threaded, even though there is some reports that these things could support hyper-threading. So this one is definitely a lot more powerful than the 3000s here, just in terms of the fact that it can take an AGP graphics card as an upgrade. And for the last one, I am excited for this one because of what this one looks like. And when I do the individual shot of this one, a lot of gamers are going to instantly recognize it. This is the Dell Dimensions 8400, which is a powerhouse of a machine from back in 2004. It has a Pentium 4 sticker with hyper-threading, which at this time, hyper-threading was a little bit better than it was during the older Pentium 4 days, but it's still not perfect. So I am kind of curious to see how this one's going to perform in some games and benchmarking software that I'm going to do later on in a separate video. All right, now the rundown's done. Let's take a look at these individually. All right, so here's the Dell Dimensions 3000 with the Celeron D sticker. I'll get a closer picture of that here in a little bit. So yeah, from the front, it has this iconic design that a lot of us of my age group recognizes. The dark gray with the, almost, it's not even black. I think it's more of a charcoal color, like a dark gray. It's a little wobbly. I think one of the legs is, or one of the feet pads is missing. But we have a DVD RRW drive, which is pretty common from this era. A lot of computers were starting to come with DVD drives over CD-ROM drives, since DVD was becoming a lot more prevalent during this time. We have the floppy drive, power button with the power indicator and the hard drive access light. We have a dented logo here, which I might need to fix. This does not move. We have 2 USB, I believe these are either 1.1 or 2.0. I believe they're 2.0. And a speaker out or headphone jack. On the side we have nothing but a Dell logo. Other side, nothing but a Dell logo and the Windows XP Home Edition sticker. And then on the back here we have a very basic layout for a home computer. It's very common during this time. So we have the ATX style power supply, and this was before Dell got weird with their wiring. It's still a generic standard ATX, so if this is bad, I can replace it. We have a single exhaust fan, parallel serial VGA out, some diagnostic lights, which is a really nice thing on an OEM computer, line in, line out, and microphone, PS2 mouse and keyboard, 4 USB 2.0 slots, Ethernet, and 4 expansion slots. Something was taken out and removed at some point. We have a modem card, and that's it. Now these open very simply. They're basically toolless. Just push this little lever down, and it pops right off. And it's a little dusty in here. As you can see, it's not too bad. There is some corrosion right there. We do have a hard drive. I did not know this had a hard drive left in it. I usually don't like this. I like giving the customers back their hard drives because it's their data, it's their stuff. I don't want to know what's on their stuff. We have no RAM. The RAM's missing. Crap. That's not good. Might have to steal it from one of the other machines just to test it. But we have a generic floppy drive, IDE-based DVD drive. This weird connector that Dell liked to use, I could never quite figure out what it was for. Not sure of the hard drive size. 3 PCI slots, and no AGP slots. So if you want to do any video card upgrades, it has to be PCI only. Which cards of this era are becoming very, very expensive. I found this out pretty recently. And then we have the love it or hate it cooling solution that Dell used for this design. So basically, you have this shroud that will funnel air over everything, including the fins of the cooler, and out through the single exhaust fan. And then you have some holes up front and stuff to draw in air, which, yeah, it's not the best I designed, but it works. Any capacitors that are problematic. Here's Dell's cooler design. It's toolless. You take these green little clips out, and then you can just pop this off to replace the thermal paste or whatever. It's a very cheap solution. It does work to hold these coolers down, but yeah, this is just a cheap aluminum heatsink. The Celeron doesn't get too hot, so I'm going to steal a stick of RAM from one of the other ones and then power this thing up. Okay, so I took the stick out of the Dimensions that has the Hyperthread sticker, the 3000 with the missing drives. That's a 512 megabyte stick of DDR1 400 megahertz CL3. Yeah, this was just sitting on the bottom of the case, so it wasn't even in the RAM slot, so I don't even know if this works. But fingers crossed it does. 2 RAM slots, so not a lot for upgradability. In fact, I believe this came with 512 megabytes anyway from factory. Alright, so to test all these computers, I'm going to use this Dell monitor. I don't remember where I got it. I think it came from one of the... I think one of the other Dells I picked up at some point. I think it actually was supposed to come with it. Like it was the higher end option instead of a CRT. And if it does work, we got a Dell keyboard for one of these machines. So we can get into the BIOS. Alright. See if this one powers on. Hey, it worked! Oh crap, I didn't. But hey, it's working. Dell Dimensions 3000 series, BIOS version A02. Invalid configuration, please run setup. Well, yeah, it was missing RAM, and it's been unplugged for God knows how long. Performing an automatic IDE configuration. So yeah, this was before SATA took off. I think this came out in 2002, 2003, I believe. Well, that says copyright 2004, so... Well, okay. That could just be when the BIOS was updated. This machine could be from 2002, 2003. But yeah, it's it just powered on and started working. All right, so we're in the BIOS. What do we have? So we have a Intel Celeron 2.66 gigahertz with 256K of integrated cache. Drive configuration, memory. Okay, yeah, so this thing is only expecting 333 megahertz RAM, not 400, so okay. But it did at least boot up with a 512 megabyte stick. I wasn't sure if it was going to, because I think 512 megabyte, that's actually a lot of RAM for DDR. I think most of the sticks I've ever seen was 128 to 256 megabytes. So single channel. So this thing would support dual channel, I believe. An APG aperture of 128 megabytes. So 128 megabyte of total system memory would go to the AGP built-in graphics. CPU speed normal or compatible. Bus speed 533. F41 266 gigahertz. Okay. Integrated devices. Everything. USB controller on, USB emulation on. Okay. Onboard video buffer 1 megabyte. So I think this one is what's going to happen is I'm going to leave this one kind of as it is. I'm going to get the correct RAM amount for it. I want to look up to see what this thing would have came with. But yeah, definitely want to install a 512 megabyte of DDR RAM at 333. I think I have some somewhere. Yeah, I'm going to leave this at 512 megabyte of RAM. I'm going to leave the CPU alone. I'm not going to upgrade the video card because there's really not much of a point. And then we're going to reinstall, well, make sure the hard drive works, obviously, but we're going to reinstall Windows XP, benchmark it, I guess, against my 2 XP machines that I built earlier, and see how poorly a Celeron D performs. So, awesome. This one's done. All right, next up is the other Dell Dimensions 3000. It is almost identical to the other one, except this one has the block-off plate for the floppy drive, so there is no floppy drive installed. We have the Pentium 4 sticker this time instead of the Celeron D. No damage or dents up here. Again, same lights, DVD drive. The sides are identical, and the back's identical with this machine. Same port, same ATX power supply. This one does not look like it has anything missing, so I kind of wonder what was taken out of that Celeron. So let's see how this one looks. Oh! We are dusty! Yeah, we are dusty. Everything is just coated. But we do have another hard drive. It's annoying because I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, how bad's that cooler look? Oh, we have a copper heatsink this time. Same fan. We have 2 RAM sticks this time. Don't know why that other one was missing them. But we have 256 megabyte DDR 400 CL3. So we have 2, so that means total 512 megabyte of DDR1 RAM, which means this should be running in dual channel mode. And again, none of the capacitors which is weird because this was from that time frame of capacitor plague, the ones that's been killing OEM computers and stuff like crazy. Yep, no floppy drive, not even the bracket for it. This was built without a floppy drive support, which is wild to me, man. This thing is dusty. Plug in keyboard monitor and power and see what happens. BIOS A02, 2004, Dell Dimensions 3000 series. Diskette drive 0 seek failure. Okay, so I was expecting a floppy drive, but that could just be if the battery's dead, the CMOS battery's dead. It might be defaulting to factory settings. Oh, there's a CD in the drive. We have an Intel Pentium 4 processor at 2.8 gigahertz with 1 megabyte of integrated level 2 cache. Yeah, that was the difference between the Celerons and the Pentiums. They had a lot more power. Memory information, 512 megabyte of DDR SDRAM, 333 megahertz speed. Okay, so it must just be, they just put 400 spec RAM in here just for cost savings, I guess. Maybe it was cheaper to get bulk. System channel memory mode, dual, so we are in dual channel mode. 128 megabyte GPU, okay. CPU speed normal, 533 bus speed, F41, 2.8 gigahertz with 1 meg of L2 cache. Awesome. Same thing with the other one. We're going to be completely clean this one out, blow all the dust out of it, new thermal paste. Going to keep the RAM as it is. Going to format and wipe the hard drive, install Windows XP, and then benchmark this one against the Celeron model and see what their performance difference was. And maybe, if I can find a suitable video card for this to bump up the graphics a little bit, it'd be PCI, so I would be losing the AGP built-in function. But just see if there'd be a performance difference with the cards. Maybe like an FX 52 or 5500. I think I have one somewhere. So, holy crap! 2 working ones so far. Next. Okay, next is this absolutely destroyed and nasty missing parts Dell Dimensions 3000. But as you can see, this one's a little bit different. It does have the hyper-threaded Pentium 4 badge, which, I said before, that might cause some compatibility problems. But again, 2 USB, we have microphone output, scratches everywhere. As you could probably see, stuff's in here that's not supposed to be there. We're missing some panels. Same as the other Dell Dimensions, Ethernet, USB, built-in stuff. It's missing the fan. I see the shroud just hanging there, and I see some clips. And I'm missing some feet on the bottom. Lovely. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, this thing's even worse on the inside. It's like the dust is growing. Look at all the dust, bunny. Ew. Little thing with this, I knew it was like this when I got it. It was like this when I got it from a garage sale. I saw some PC games and I was like, hey, do you have an old PC that he's went with? Oh yeah, my son was into technologies and stuff and was doing some, yeah. Apparently the kid did this. Oh god, but this board's different. I mean, we have the hard drive bracket, but look at this. This one's different. We have the spot for an AGP slot, but it's not soldered in. 3 PCI, no RAM, but there's spots for 4 slots, but only 2 are populated. So we have a copper heatsink, which makes sense because this thing's going to get very, very hot here when it's running. But again, yeah, the capacitors all look okay. Even that really big one right there. I don't see any bulges, especially right here. I kind of wonder if this board is either an early revision of the 3000 board where they, just didn't install populate stuff for a different model, or if this was a very high-end 3000 where it could have had AGP if it had the build for it. So, gonna stick a RAM in and put some power to it, see what happens. I'm actually a little concerned because this one's missing so many things. All right, keyboard, video, power. No idea if it's on. Oh my god! What? This one just works too? Okay, we have a Pentium 4 processor, 3 gigahertz with 1 megabyte of integrated cache. Holy crap, this thing works. I don't want to run it too long because I don't have a fan on that cooler. But memory information. So this one is seeing the full speed 400 megahertz and it's in single channel. So this is a very powerful machine, or it could be. CPU information, hyper-threading, I can enable it. This has an 800 megahertz, but holy crap, this thing is a powerhouse. So, looks like I'm restoring a third Dell Dimensions 3000. This one's going to get the most work. This one might actually get a dedicated video on it. The other two might just be in the video as well. New thermal paste. Maybe see if I can find a fan. See what I can do to get this thing back up and running, and then, yeah, benchmark this one against the other two as well. See what a hyper-threaded 3 gigahertz can do. And maybe see if I can find, like I said, a PCI video card thrown here for some extra oomph, because this thing would have a lot of power to it for games if hyper-threading would play nice. If not, even then, a single core 3 gigahertz would be sweet. So, awesome. Well, that colored me surprised on that one. Next. Okay, up next is the Dell Dimensions 4600. We have the exact same design aesthetic as the 3000s. This one we have dual disk drives here. We have a CDRW and just a compact disk drive, so no DVD drive. That's interesting. The other ones did, so this must be a custom configuration. I mean, obviously it has 2 drives, so somebody configured it with a second drive or installed one. 2 USB mic. This one's in a lot better shape than the last one, but as you can tell, it's still very, very dusty. But the back is a little bit different. We still have the integrated fan. We have 4 slots here with a modem, the parallel serial video, PS2 diagonal lights, 5-port audio, 6 USB, and Ethernet. So we already got some more expandability here. And on the inside, oh, that is gross. I think this is ironically the dustiest one yet. Oh, but we're missing a hard drive, but we have cage for 2, 4 full RAM slots, a single stick of 2 56 megabyte DDR333 CL 2.5. Interesting. Wonder why this one's got a different RAM stick in it. AGP, I believe this is either 4X or 8X, so this would take a very powerful AGP video card with 3 PCI slots. And under the shroud, we have a very dusty copper heatsink, probably to cool down whatever the heck's in here. No battery. The battery's been removed. That's interesting. And this weird P4 connector that Dell like to use. Can anybody tell me what these are for? Like, I knew they're for like external power, but beyond that. All right, let's throw some power at it. See what happens. Okay. Power. Ooh. And we fired right up, but we have an orange power light. Something is not happy. I'm going to try swapping RAM sticks and see if that fixes anything. Ooh. We have a green light, but no video. Oh, hey! Haha! It works! Holy crap! F2, F2, F2. Spam F2. Okay, so I moved the RAM to slot 2 and now it's working. So I might have a dead RAM slot, which is not ideal. Hey, it's working! Okay, so we have a interesting 460i series with a 2.66 gigahertz Pentium 4. So same speed as the Celeron D, 512K of integrated L2 cache. So we have a weaker CPU overall versus that hyper-threaded 3000 or the non-hyper-threaded 3000 with the Pentium 4. Okay, yeah, we're only running at 333. Okay. Wait, what did that say? AGP. Okay, so single channel. Okay. CPU, yeah, 260. Okay. So here's the funny thing. This one actually works. So now that I know it's not the RAM stick, it's the RAM slot. This has the 400 megahertz RAM in it. This is the 333 that came out of it. Very interesting that none of these have dual channel except for that one 3000. And what's also interesting, I noticed this board and the other one that's in that damaged 3000 are the exact same board. This one is just fully populated with AGP slot and the early version of SATA with the supporting chips that other 3000 does not. So this is actually very interesting. So this is, yes, going to be a restoration project. That's now 4 of these I'm going to restore. Oh god, it's going to be a lot of, oh boy. So this one, the game plan. Full restoration, blow the dust out of it, full cleanup, tear down, the whole 9 yards. First thermal paste, hard drive, install XP, benchmark it now with the other 3 and my other 2 XP machines. And then this one, because it actually can take some upgrades, I'm thinking AGP card, and I'm thinking more powerful CPU. Maybe if I could find a 3 gigahertz non-hyper-threaded, or since this is the same board as that hyper-threaded Pentium 4 Power 3000, I wonder if that hyper-threaded 3 gigahertz would fit in here, because that would be a much more powerful CPU, even with hyper-threaded disabled, than what's in here now. So that would be an interesting thing to do. I don't know, we'll have to see, because I don't think this is a hyper-threaded. No, this is not a hyper-threaded model. So, yeah, another restoration project. Yay. And now, time for the beefy computer. That thing's heavy. And if you're wondering why I'm calling it the beefy computer, because that's what this is. Look at this. If that looks familiar to you, that is the same asset that Valve used for the Office PC in Counter-Strike Source. It just says beefy computer in the game instead of Dell. Yeah, I have the Counter-Strike Source Office computer. That's why I'm really interested in hoping this computer works, because this thing could be a powerhouse with the right parts and upgrades, depends on what's in here. So let's take a look at this big bad boy. Okay, so first thing off the bat, yes, it shares the exact same design aesthetic as the 3000s, the 4600 I just did, and all the other Dell Dimension Optiplexes of its era. Not to mention, this chassis also shares a lot in common with the, I believe, the 6400 and the 4400. They were the same chassis, just this one's the later version. As you can see, we have 4 total available expansion slots, or expansion bays. We have a DVD-ROM, DVD-RW, floppy drive, and an unused half-height drive bay here, which I've seen people put a, media card readers. I've seen zip drives. I've seen a bunch of stuff put in here. We have the power indicator, which is also the power button, instead of it being a little satellite thing over here, with the hard drive indicator. And this little flap folds forward, and we have 2 USB 2.0 and a headphone jack underneath the flap, but they are stuck at an angle, so unfortunately most flash drives might not fit here. But during this time, flash drives were not very common, so usually they were just plugins for mice, keyboard, printers, peripherals, joysticks, whatever. We have a gorgeous Pentium 4 hyper-threaded badge and a Windows XP sticker. So as you can see from the side here, it's a lot different than the other Dimensions. We have plastic instead of metal, with a gray embossed center instead of it being stamped, and the color's different. Hey, you can actually see the color difference on my camera. This is more of like, it's black or a dark charcoal, but it's more of got like a bluish tinge to it, where that is just straight up dark gray, almost black. So similar design aesthetic, but just a little bit different. Looks like we have a scratch right here, not too bad. It's actually in really good shape. The other side, we have the XP Professional OEM sticker instead of the Home Edition. On the back, this is where things get really cool. We have a generic ATX power supply. It's just the cutout's not generic, so unfortunately, if that's bad, I can't put a modern one in that has a power switch. I'll have to find a older one. We have a exhaust fan here, which is same design as the other Dimensions, but it's a little bit inset in, and we'll see why in a second. No integrated video. Parallel serial. We have more debug lights. PS2 mice and keyboard. A block-off plate. You'll see these on videos, on the video connector, but this is actually for the audio. This has, I believe it's 6-channel audio, but this is being blocked off. We have 6 more USB in the back, Ethernet, a dedicated video card finally, and a dedicated sound card. Now what makes this PC unique is instead of opening like the other ones with the side panel, this one opens up like a book. There's a button, top and bottom, that has this thing open up like a book or like a old semi-truck. Oh, look at that. Take a look at that gorgeous access. It's almost like Dell wanted you to work on this without special tools. Holy crap. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick overview of the internals, nothing too specific, because I do want to do a dedicated video on this in the future if it works. So I'm not going to do too much talking about this machine because there is a lot of really neat historical things with this particular machine. So quick overview. IDE powered DVD drives with quick rails. And IDE is not too surprising because by this point IDE was still dominant for peripherals and accessories. We have the floppy drive that still has quick rails with space for another one. usually probably a zip disk drive or something, or a super floppy. A SATA hard drive. This is the new and unusual thing because around this time, a lot of computers were still using IDE, so it's really nice to see a SATA hard drive with more modern SATA ports. The ones on the 4600 was just the center section without the shroud, so that's a very nice modern touch. 4 sticks of RAM. We have a video card of unknown type. I don't know what it is, but it is PCIe. Yes, 2004 and PCIe. That's another thing why this computer is really special. And a Sound Blaster Live 24-bit low profile. So dedicated sound hardware. And we have underneath this massive, just look at this, that massive heatsink is, I believe, it should be the Era anyway, this is one of the earliest LGA 775 Pentium 4 CPUs. So hopefully this thing works, because like I said, this would be a really neat PC to run. Video into the video card. I don't know what video card this is yet. Power it on, see what happens. Ooh. Ooh, we have an X300 SE 128 megabyte. Cool. Okay, so we must be stuck because I've been sitting here for like the past minute and it hasn't done anything. So let's just do something real quick. That is not happy. We are not happy. Okay, and we're in the BIOS. Okay, so I have a single dead stick of RAM, which is a 512 megabyte DDR2. So this is a very early DDR2 system, by the way, as well as from what I can tell. So I have one dead stick. So not bad so far, but hey, we're in the BIOS, and this is a very modern looking BIOS. It may not look like it, but this is identical BIOS to what a lot of Dells have nowadays. My Dell laptop that I currently use for all my channel stuff is from like 2019, 2020, and it has this exact same BIOS screen. This is cool. System info, we have a Dell System 8400, BIOS 805, 316 of 05, so I think we've had a BIOS update. Service tag, express tag, asset tag, none. Okay. Processor, Intel Pentium 4 CPU at 3 gigahertz with an 800 megahertz frontside bus, 2 megabytes of L2 cache, 0 of L3. Interesting that there's an L3 section. Hyper-threading and 64-bit capable. This is awesome. That means this is a single-core, dual-thread, 3 gigahertz Pentium 4 on the LGA 775 platform. So, same platform as the Q66 and the other machines that I built. Memory, 1.5 gigabyte of 4 megahertz. We have dual asymmetric mode, which is interesting. DDR2 SD RAM. We have empty DIMM4, which, yes, that's where this dead stick came out of. Yeah, so I just need to find one more stick of these to get it back up to 2 gigabytes. So yeah, this had 2 gigabytes of RAM. In 2004, this was a lot of RAM. To put that into perspective, the Dell Dimensions 3000s I just showed all came with a factory 512 megabyte, and that was plenty for an XP machine. Saturday, August 30th of 2020. All right, so boot sequence. This is interesting. Onboard or USB CD-ROM drive first. Onboard USB floppy drive second. Onboard SATA hard drive third. Which is interesting that this can boot from a USB floppy drive or CD drive. Onboard IDE drive not present, which is fine because this thing is going to be sticking with SATA. USB boot support not present. This thing can boot from a flippin' USB drive. This thing is basically modern. Okay, essentially. It's a single core modern machine. Like that's actually really cool. Okay, so we have, this supports RAID, which I read a review of this machine and the RAID capabilities of this were, for its time, insane. Like I said, I'm doing a dedicated video on this machine. This is way too cool to not. And the Dell Dimensions 8400 works like a champ. It powered, well, after I removed the dead RAM stick, it worked just fine. I'm actually blown away that it just, basically powered up and just started working. And now I know what this video card is. It's the X300. I need to do some research to see what this specifically is, because I've never heard of the X300. Yeah, this thing is actually a stupidly cool machine, and it is definitely getting its own restoration video, because this is really cool. Especially the fact that it is essentially the Counter-Strike Office PC. So obviously when I do the restoration video, not only am I going to be doing XP install benchmarks in comparison to my other XP machines, this is getting Counter-Strike installed on it. If I can find a way to. Obviously Steam's not going to work, and Windows 11 won't work to run Steam, but hey, I'm going to do whatever I can to get Counter-Strike to work on here. So this is going to be fun. I love it. Well, this video did not go anywhere near how I kind of expected it to go, clearly. This was a complete and utter surprise in every regard. It goes against like the law of retro computer averages here. I was only expecting maybe one or two of these to work, but surprisingly, all five of them just did. They all just powered on, posted, and went to the BIOS screen, which was not expected. I mean, okay, yes, to be fair, the 4600 here, which is this one, has a potentially dead RAM slot, so that reduces some performance. And this 8400 here has a dead RAM stick. But, you know, even with just a little bit of tweaking, I was able to get everything here to just work without almost any effort. And that's that kind of blows me away, especially this Dell Dimensions 3000 up here that's missing the 80% of its components. Why did I say Dell Dimensions 3000? Of course, they're all anyway, this is kind of throws me for a loop because my plan was for only one or two of these to work and just do the restoration videos on those two, or however many worked, and then benchmark them against my XP gaming machines I've built and see how they compare, and then get, you know, a plan going for what I'm going to do with them. But that got blown out of the water because now they all five work. So now I need to redo my plans here. This 8400 here, because of it's very unique in my collection in a lot of ways. It's a very almost iconic and slight historical machine. Plus the assets were used in a very famous video game. This one's getting redone. It doesn't need restored per se. It just needs cleaned up, like some stuff taken off of it, and new thermal paste, and refresh with Windows XP. So that's going to be probably just one video. It's going to get maybe CPU, maybe GPU upgrade after I benchmark it just to see what kind of performance this thing could find. Maybe if I could track down the most powerful video card this thing could have took with the most powerful CPU and just see what the upgrades could be, because I don't know exactly what CPUs this can take. I want to say because this is the first version of the 775 platform that it can only take the first wave of Pentium 4s and it cannot take any of the Pentium Ds. We'll have to see. But yeah, this is going to be one dedicated video. As for these four, yeah, definitely the 4600 is going to be getting its own restoration video because it's kind of the oddball out of these four. You know, clean the dust out, full cleanup, restoration, reinstall Windows XP, and then maybe in that video also I'll install, maybe I'll see what kind of video cards it could take. I think the 9800 Pro from ATI was the one I keep seeing being the most powerful for that, so maybe throw that at it and just see what it can take. Actually, I think the FX, this is the 55 or the 5900 is the most powerful of that same era, so that'd be kind of neat to see it done to 4600. It's these 3000s here that's going to throw me for a loop because I really have no reason to restore all three of them, but all three of them have completely different vastly amounts of hardware specs. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm definitely going to restore the Pentium 4 non-hyper-threaded and the Celeron D versions. Fully restore them, new XP, new drives, new hard drives, and maybe video cards, I don't know yet, and then benchmark them against the 46 and 84 and then the other two. It's that destroyed one that's bugging me because it's a hyper-threaded model. I might actually just say screw it and not restore that one and use that hyper-threaded CPU in the 4600 as a potential upgrade, because if I disable hyper-threading, that would be a 3 GHz single-core 1 MB of cache CPU, which would be bonkers in that. I don't know, I haven't fully decided yet, but either way, yes, that's going to be the plan, is at least 3 restoration videos across these 5 machines. But anyway, that's all future stuff. Not going to do that anytime soon, even though I really want to get cracking into this at some point, because this one wouldn't take too much, I think. If you have any thoughts or comments about any of these machines, maybe you've used them in the past, owned them in the past, you have some different, maybe you have the information about what the max configuration for all these are, so I can try and find parts for them to max them out. Put them down in the comments, and I'd love to get to them, max one of these things up. I think that'd be kind of neat. And yeah, then you'll definitely be seeing these things here in the future going toe-to-toe with my other 2 Windows XP machines that I built. A lot of XP stuff coming in the future. Anyway, that all being said, thank you all so much for watching the video. I really hope you enjoyed this look at these 5 surprisingly working Dell Dimensions here that I picked over the past few years. And I'll see you all in the next one. Thanks for watching.